Hello and welcome to episode 27 of the Craving Crypto podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the 100K prediction for Bitcoin, whether it's still possible in 2018, and my thoughts on the matter. So let's get right into this. Awesome, so we're going to get right into the market overview. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we'll get into this. So coinmarketcap.com is the total cryptocurrency market cap is $228 billion right now. The 24-hour volume is actually more than what we've been averaging. We've been seeing about 10 billion or lower, some days in the $9 billion levels in 24-hour volume. So 13 is a good sign for the 24-hour volume. The Bitcoin dominance is still dropping off, as I was talking about, from the 56% level down, and I'm still suspecting altcoin season to be coming back around. As you guys know, Dogecoin is up 43% today, so I'm sure there's a lot of people FOMOing into this. I recommend staying away from buying anything that's up this much percentage in a 24-hour period of time. But with it breaking out, that's a really good sign for the altcoin markets as well, considering that Dogecoin isn't necessarily some amazing technology. So if it's pumping really hard, then that kind of shows that some of the fluff is off of the markets, and maybe we can get some pumping in coins that aren't even necessarily good projects. And so that's kind of a difference in sentiment, meaning if we're having coins that don't really have a ton of development pump, then the sentiment is pretty bullish. So that's a good thing to see Dogecoin pumping, but I recommend staying away from FOMOing into that coin specifically. Clicking on the total market cap, we do see that we have dropped off in the total market cap since the beginning of the year, but since my most recent video and my most recent update, the prices have actually continued to rally as we expected them to. If I switch into the smaller time frame really quick here, and see on the 2-hour time frame we're starting to break out, and it would not surprise me at all if this resistance level is broken in the total market cap over the next week or so. So we're seeing a lot of strength in the total market cap on the smaller time frames. Going into the daily, actually the weekly, we have a little chart that we made for you guys today. So let me just go ahead and zoom out and make this a little bit more visible for you. So today's video subject matter is whether it's possible for Bitcoin to reach the $100,000 levels that I originally predicted at the beginning of 2018, saying that Bitcoin is likely to hit 100,000 by the end of 2018. So let's talk about probabilities, kind of what went into me making that prediction originally, how I see the markets, what has changed, what hasn't changed, and kind of what you should do to adjust your perspective based on all of that. So clicking on this chart right here, I made another updated 100K prediction chart a couple months ago for Bitcoin when we fell onto the support levels mentioned at 6,000. When we bounced and we did that double bottom, I made a little update on the actual Elliott wave count on the logarithmic chart and how I think that Bitcoin is still likely to hit 100,000 per coin. Now, whether this does this on the exact day of 2018 or whether we're a few months into 2019, a little bit further, is one of those things where time is our only friend in this specific matter. But I'm predicting zones to buy and zones to sell and not exact timing, because the zones reflect a greater degree of sentiment than the timing does. If somebody invests in something and then they make $1 million, they're likely to pull that $1 million out into cash and start having fun with it. Whereas if they make $1 million in 1 hour, it's different. There's not that much of a difference between the time that it took to make that money and the amount that was made. So support zones and resistance zones are way more effective and useful in trading than timing or timed areas to see something, because it's the actual price that you want to buy at and the price that you want to sell at that reflects more sentiment in the market. Even if Bitcoin takes a little bit longer to reach this zone, as you can see when we press play on the chart, we've consolidated sideways in this area, but that doesn't mean that this still isn't a 4-wave and can experience this 5-wave up to 100,000. As you guys know, it only took 15 weeks for the majority, 80% of the market movement that we saw in 2017 took this 15-week period of time right here, when we went from 135 billion in total market cap up to 800 billion in total market cap. And after these corrections, impulsing usually starts pretty quickly. So for the total market cap to be nearing the top at previous resistance before the end of this year again isn't really that crazy to think about. It's actually possible to see this type of movement in the space, especially if we start to get some type of rounded movement or a cup and handle pattern, which often occurs at the bottom of markets. When you're rounding and getting accumulated, you get these rounded bottoms, and then they often turn into cup and handle patterns that see upside continuation. So it's really not crazy to think that we could be seeing 800 billion in total market cap towards the end of 2018 again. If we reach those levels, Bitcoin will be 20,000 plus per coin. So this gives you an idea as to why it's not really that crazy to think that Bitcoin could have reached 100,000 in 2018. Still could, although the correction being a little elongated, like 4 months longer than originally planned, is making it a little less likely to see the exact $100,000 price point this year. But that doesn't mean that it's not possible. It just means that we will see somewhere around that zone before the end of the year. And I'm really bullish overall on this long-term chart with Bitcoin. As you guys know, I have been watching the resistance zone. I was watching this $20,000 level as a resistance zone. I drew this as a C wave that we drop off and start to climb back up. As you guys know, this is what I mean when I say that the correction, the spring correction, was elongated, because we've seen further corrective movement from where I expected it to spring. That doesn't mean that it still won't spring though. That just means that we've consolidated for longer than originally planned. It's no reason to change your targets, change your trading plans. And then as you can see right here as well, I knew that there was some pretty heavy resistance at 20,000, so I drew the potential for an ABC correction back down to 7,800 per coin when we were reaching those levels. So as you guys know, I also play the bigger market cycles, the bigger trends. And so sometimes we have alternative counts. For example, when we were nearing the $10,000 levels, I thought that we could easily break out and start to go up above resistance here. But I also made a very clear alternative wave count that this could be a heavy resistance and that there's bearish divergence and we could see further dropping in prices. So we got the alternative count. So this is kind of why I play the big cycles, is because these little swings along the way can be very volatile. They can change directions and they can go not as originally expected. So you have to use these primary counts and these alternate counts and then accumulate the big moves, because those are the ones that you can have a really high degree of confidence that you're starting a new uptrend and that you're going into another market cycle. So that's one of the reasons that I teach those bigger cycles, and one of the reasons that I avoid trading too much in smaller time frames. As my VIPs know, I'm working on doing more swing trades, like 2 to 3 week setups, but I still don't ever have plans to do anything in and out of the same day, because algorithms are way too smart, and it's really, really low probabilities for you to become smarter than these algorithms coming in and out of the same day. So, but yeah, back to the 100K prediction. I do think that this correction is very close. My most recent trading view chart was sick of the correction. Read this, where I compare it to the NASDAQ fractal. As you guys all know, I have been comparing Bitcoin to the NASDAQ fractal for quite some time now, and think that it's a very valid thing to be watching and be aware of for Bitcoin. So I do think that we could be reaching the $50,000 levels by the end of this year. 100,000 per coin was a little bit optimistic, I fully admit. There was a lot of optimism in the market at that time, but that doesn't mean that we still won't get pretty close to these levels, and that wasn't a bad long-term projection or area to be watching. So it wasn't a perfect prediction by any means, but it was still one that is valid and can be very useful for accumulating in this correction, as we expect to see a reversal into the next few months of the year. So again, the majority of the pumping happened in about 15 weeks. So if we can get another 15 weeks of bullish action, that would take us up to the previous resistance levels. And it wouldn't surprise me if Bitcoin's 20,000 and above per coin. And like I said, 50K per coin is possible based on this projection that I see, this Elliott wave projection, before the end of the year. So we're just watching things, letting the price paint what it wants to paint, accumulating the panic, playing the big cycles, and keeping an open mind and being aware that sentiment, price is a greater reflection of sentiment than time, so that you understand the price points to be buying at and the price points to be selling at, rather than worrying about the exact day to do those. Because if you have your order in place, it doesn't matter what day that price point gets hit. It just matters that your price was hit and it did get sold. So you just get your orders in place and then set it and forget it. Anyways, going on to the Coinigy sign up. If you want to do charting on altcoins, you can use my sign up right here to do so. We have the BitMEX sign up if you want to do leverage trading. I also have a Bitcoin address. If you like what I'm doing, you can go ahead and donate. The VIP course is right here. The sale is officially over, but I really welcome all of the new members into the group. And if you have any questions at all, be sure to ask them in the questions box in the Discord. Thank you so much for tuning in today's video. I hope that you learned something. If you have any questions at all, go ahead and let me know in the box below. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next videos. As always, stay profitable.